Diabetic triopathies, retinopathy, nephropathy, and neuropathy. Of the three nephropathies, of the three triopathies, that is, nephropathy is probably the most feared. In this episode, I continue the discussion on the third of the triopathies, diabetic nephropathy. That's what I'm talking about tonight. If you're new to our channel, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwayne Wood. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. And here on this channel, I help to educate, I help to empower, and I help to encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and live the life you've always wanted, going to the next level. We are in the middle of a month-long series on diabetes for Diabetes Awareness Month. That's right. November is Diabetes Awareness Month, and I have been talking about different aspects of diabetes. In this month, the goal is to educate the public, to dispel myths that may be out there, and to help people figure out how to live long and healthy with diabetes, how to prevent diabetes, and how to treat diabetes. So we are going through this month, and I've been doing some videos. This is the 10th in the series so far. The last three videos, I've been talking about the triopathies. You heard that at the top as we started. I've already done neuropathy. I did retinopathy the last video. And then in this episode, we're talking about nephropathy. If you've not already done so, go back and watch those and catch up and come along as we move through the month. All right, let's just hop in. Let's just rush right into it. Get our graphics up. And as I said, we've already done neuropathy and we've done retinopathy. And in this one, I'm talking about nephropathy, and we're talking about the kidneys, right? And, you know, if you're like most people, you probably don't give much thought to your kidneys. But these are vital organs that play an important role in keeping blood clean and the body healthy. The kidneys contain millions of tiny vessels called glomeruli that act like filters, removing waste and extra fluid from the body. And these waste products are excreted in the urine. And diabetes can damage the glomeruli, leading to a condition called diabetic nephropathy. And that's what we're talking about tonight on this episode. And this can cause, kidney failure and some serious health problems. So we want to make sure that we take care of our kidneys. And you'll see there on the screen that more than 1 in 7 people in the United States, that's 15% of the adults, are estimated to have chronic kidney disease. That's about 37 million people, right? That's the same number of people that we say have diabetes. So 37 million is the number that we use. And diabetic nephropathy, if you think about diabetes, about 1/3 of the people with diabetes have diabetic nephropathy. Over 40% of the new cases of end-stage renal disease, which is the final stage of kidney damage and kidney failure, are attributed to diabetes. And minorities experience a higher than average rate for nephropathy. And you'll see there, this is what the kidneys look like, right? So they are a jumble of vessels, arteries and veins, and as your blood moves through these arteries and veins, then it's filtered in the body, right? It's filtered in the body. This is another a bigger view of that. And so why are the kidneys so important? That's a question. And there are several functions that the kidneys play. One, they remove waste products from the body. Okay, so whenever there's any toxin in the body, whether that comes from things like medication, right? So medications, when they're broken down, some of the substances that come out of them have to be filtered. The medication itself has to be filtered in the body. Sometimes there are bacteria or viruses that are in the body that are causing damage. Those they can produce certain substances, and those substances are filtered in the body, filtered through the kidney. The kidneys keep your fluid balance. So they help to regulate how much fluid is in the body. And that's one of the reasons why when people have kidney failure, we tell them they have to limit, in some cases, the amount of fluid that they're taking in, right? It helps to regulate your blood pressure. That's an important one. Because if you have kidney damage, then sometimes people can have abnormal blood pressure, either having too high a blood pressure, and in some cases, blood pressure can be low as well as we get into some of the final stages of kidney damage. It assists with vitamin D and bone health, and we've done videos on both vitamin D and bone in the past, and that it helps to maintain your production of red cells, right? Erythropoietin, one of those things that the kidneys produces that helps with your red cells. And so once again, if these are damaged, if the kidney's damaged and you don't have the appropriate red cells, then people can get into other issues, which we won't get into here. Things like fatigue and so forth. Okay. Well, when the kidneys are damaged, what do we see? Well, they may not be able to clean the blood as well as they need. So those toxins begin building up, and the toxins have effects in the body, right? So those toxins have some effect, and that's the reason the body is trying to get rid of them. And if the toxins aren't being cleaned, they're not being filtered, then they remain, and those toxic wastes and extra fluids accumulate in the body. And then this leads to other complications like high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, and ultimately, if it's not corrected, it can lead to death. This is why there is so much a push to clean the blood. When someone is having significant kidney damage, that's the whole idea behind dialysis, right? And I'm saying that word, and that's why I said that this is probably one of the most feared of the triopathies, right? Because people hear that, they know someone who had dialysis, and it is a scary thing to think about. Well, what are symptoms of chronic kidney disease? What are symptoms of some chronic kidney disease? Well, worsening blood pressure, as we mentioned before. If your fluids are not being regulated, right? We said the kidneys help to regulate fluid. If those aren't being regulated, then you can have swelling in the feet, swelling in the ankles, swelling in the hands, and even puffiness around the eyes, right? So the entire body now is retaining extra fluid, and that can then cause problems. Increase need to urinate. So extra fluid, now we're peeing a lot more. Reduce need for diabetes medications, because a lot of the medications that we have, that we treat diabetes with, they are filtered through the kidneys. And so if the kidneys aren't functioning well, then those medications stay in the body and they have a higher effect, right? So they work more, right? Does that make sense? Also, well, we'll leave it at that for now, right? So people can have confusion and difficulty concentrating, once again, because of the toxins that are building up. They can have shortness of breath. Because why? Well, there's a lot more fluid on board, and the fluid can be stressing the heart. It can cause problems with the lungs, so basically flooding in the lung or edema in the lung. Loss of appetite, you can have nausea, vomiting, and then persistent itching as those toxins get into the skin, right? Because there are a lot of things that the body itself makes that are supposed to be filtered out. And if those aren't being filtered out as well, then you can have problems in the skin, and problems, they show up as itching, and sometimes you can have rashes and discolorations and so forth. Well, what are some risk factors? What are some risk factors for nephropathy? So having diabetes, right, is the primary insult. And then now these things add to it, makes it more likely that you will have nephropathy. So uncontrolled blood sugars, that goes without saying. If the blood sugars continue to be out of control, then the high blood sugars, remember, that's what we said, that high blood sugars cause damage. The initial problem for diabetes is not a sugar problem. It is an insulin issue. But once the insulin sets this process in motion, then now the high blood sugars are what cause the damage to the organs, right? So it's not the insulin, and you guys who are out there, don't fuss. This is a simple explanation. It's not the insulin that's causing the damage. It's the high blood sugar that's causing the damage, right? So uncontrolled blood sugars are a risk factor for progression to nephropathy. Next to that, you see high blood pressure, and I'm going to talk about these three together. So high blood pressure, below the controlled blood sugar, you'll see cholesterol. When we talked about the treatment goals for diabetes, we said controlling your A1C, controlling blood pressure, and controlling cholesterol. Those three things are some of the primary ones that we want to make sure that we're doing as we're trying to minimize the complications of diabetes, right? So those are part of the treatment goals for diabetes: controlling blood sugar, controlling your blood pressure, and controlling your cholesterol. And then obesity, right? So obesity, metabolic syndrome, all those things are risk factors. Smoking, right? And I've said on this show, and I've said in other shows and other episodes, you hear me say this all the time: quitting smoking improves everything. Period. Right? I don't have a caveat to that. If you stop smoking, then everything gets better. And then, of course, having a family history of diabetes or kidney disease is a risk factor for progression to nephropathy. So how is diabetic nephropathy diagnosed? Well, first, let's talk about screening. So type 1 diabetics, 5 years after they are diagnosed, it's recommended that you start screening for kidney disease. Now, practically speaking, a lot of diabetics, as soon as they're diagnosed, when they start going to see their physicians, we're getting these numbers anyway, right? Type 2 diabetes, as soon as that person is diagnosed, then we should begin screening for kidney disease, nephropathy. And there are several things that we can do. Most of it has to do with protein. And you've probably had, if you're diabetic, you've had the test where you have to go to the lab and you pee in the cup, and right. So the first thing is urinary albumin. That's the test that we do. So too much protein in the urine can indicate poor kidney function. So I liken the kidney to a strainer, like a sieve. Right. And things that shouldn't pass through the kidneys, because the kidneys filtering it out. But if there's damage, then the kidney doesn't have the ability to filter those things out, and they pass through the filter. Okay. And that's what we see as albumin or protein. So urinary albumin. The next one down there, you see albumin creatinine ratio, and specifically looking at what's called microalbumin, and it's another indication of kidney function. And then there are some estimates to the function or the filtration of the kidneys. How well are the kidneys filtering things? And you'll see this listed as the GFR, or glomerular filtration rate. Okay, and this is used to estimate how quickly the kidneys are filtering, and a low rate, right? Because it should be in most of the, and sometimes I hate to give numbers, but I'm going to give a number here. For most of the labs that you go to, you'll see that for African Americans it should be 60 or higher. Okay, and so for non-African Americans, particularly our Caucasian counterparts, there's another range there, and but 55 to 60, right? If that is where you are, then that's considered to be normal. Once again, like I said, I hate giving numbers. It depends on the reference lab that you're using, because sometimes they'll use a different lab, but about 55 to 60 is a normal number. As we get below that, right, then we start seeing that that's too low, and sometimes medications, right, will be adjusted based on the GFR. So if your GFR is 30 or less, then there's certain medications you can't take. If your GFR is 30 to 40, and then 40 to 50, and then greater than 60, and you may have that discussion with your healthcare provider. Okay, so that is how it's diagnosed. And then if it's found that these numbers are abnormal, you'll probably get some imaging. Maybe an ultrasound or an MRI will be done of the kidneys to get a good look at the structure of the kidneys, to see if there's any change in size, are there any, masses, lumps, bumps, irregularities in the kidneys, and so forth. Okay, so as part of the evaluation, not just the blood work, not just this estimation, but also some imaging may be done as well. Okay, and so that is the. I didn't mean to go to that screen yet. All right, so that is how diabetic nephropathy is diagnosed. That's how it's diagnosed. And here I'm going to pause, and we're going to go to one of our new features that we've had and that we've added to the show, called our amazing question wheel. And when we come back on the other side of that, we're going to talk about some things that we can do to prevent the progression to kidney disease. Okay, so let's hop over to our amazing question wheel. All right, so our amazing question wheel. If you've been with us, if you haven't been with us, let's just explain this. So on the screen, you'll see a wheel with questions. These questions are some of the most commonly asked questions. And these are questions, once again, if you have questions that you want us to answer, send them in. We'll add them to the wheel and we will give you credit. We'll put your name there so people see, oh yeah, this came in from whoever, right? So if you have questions, go ahead and send them in. I will answer the question, whatever question the wheels lands on, I'm going to answer that question. But the caveat to that is that I have 45 seconds. Woo! To answer whatever question it is. And it's got to be a real answer, right? Can't be some nonsensical answer. It has to be a real answer that you can use. It's a practical, concise answer for whatever question that is. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So 45 seconds is what I have. And then I'm going to clip that part of the show out. I'm going to create a little video and I'm going to post that on all of our social media platforms, right? LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And then I want you to go out and find that video. And in the comments of the video, say hashtag I was there. I'm going to write that in there so you can see. Let me see. Let's put that down. Hashtag I was there, right? So that we know that you were here when I created this. I was there. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's spin the wheel and let's see what we have. Okay. Here we go. Wheel spinning, round and round it goes. Where it stopped, I don't know. Let's see. All right. What are some risk factors for developing diabetes? All right. So let's see. Risk factors. Take a couple seconds to get my thoughts together, and then let's hop over to our screen with 45 seconds on the clock, and we'll answer that question. So what are some risk factors? What are some risk factors for developing diabetes? Diabetes, type 2 diabetes, particularly as we talk about this, is a problem of metabolism, problem of weight, problem of insulin. So some risk factors are a sedentary lifestyle, increased weight, high blood pressure, metabolic syndrome, PCOS, a family history of diabetes for type 2. Those are some of the risk factors for diabetes. And once again, sedentary lifestyle, smoking, high cholesterol, I can add those in there. Those are the risk factors for diabetes. All right. So I think I got right there at the end. So that's how it goes, right? So what are the risk factors? So that comes on back. So make sure you find that. Make sure you find that video. As when we clip it out, we're going to put it together and we're going to post it on our social media platforms. Okay. All right, so let's hop back to our discussion, and we are talking about nephropathy. So diabetic nephropathy, one of the triopathies. Remember, the triopathies of diabetes are retinopathy, so eye problems, neuropathy, nerve problems, and nephropathy, kidney problems. And we've just talked here a minute ago about how it is diagnosed. So I gave a list there, and now let's talk about ways and things that we can do to reduce our risk right? How do we reduce our risk for developing diabetic nephropathy? And there are 6 things that you're going to see here on the screen when it comes. Oh, there it is. Okay. So number 1, what do you think? You expected this one, right? So keep regular doctor visits. Make sure you're seeing your healthcare provider. Because with your healthcare provider, as you are managing your diabetes, there are things that they will say, things that they will do, things they will test to make sure that we catch it early. That is always the key. That is always the key. Catching early and doing something to mitigate and or reduce, right? Number 2, you'll see there, keep blood sugars in the target range. Wow, that one you should expect as well. We did a show, one of these, let's see, 2-3 days ago, on actually more than 2-3 days ago, because we've been doing the triopathies over the last 3 days. But one of the shows we did was on treatment goals for diabetes. So go back if you've not done so. Go ahead back and watch that one. So one of it is keeping blood sugars in the target range, and that video that we did will talk more about what the target range is and what your A1C should be and so forth, right? Number 3, manage high blood pressure and cholesterol. Woo! Right? That keeps coming up, right? Because that's part of the treatment goals. Manage high blood pressure and high cholesterol. Sometimes I've had people say to me, well, my cholesterol is not that high, or my blood pressure is not that high. I don't want to be on medication. I don't want to do this. And once again, as part, and I want you to understand, when we're talking about managing diabetes, we're not just talking about managing blood sugar. There are other things that go along with diabetes that can cause complication. So that is why it's important to treat everything together. I can't stress that enough, right? It is a package that we're managing, not just getting the blood sugar under control, but making sure our blood pressure and our cholesterol are under control again. And you've heard, if you watch the videos, if you've been with us, those 3 things keep coming together. Blood sugar, blood pressure, and cholesterol. Okay. And then number 4, follow the instructions on possible harmful over-the-counter medications. There are some medications that can cause issues for the kidneys, and particularly as we talk about diabetics. So things like aspirin, things like ibuprofen, right? Naproxen. Those things can have a deleterious effect on the kidneys. So it's not that you can't use them, but you want to make sure that you are not using them in excess. So follow the instructions on the package. And if you're going to be taking anything over the counter, make sure that you're checking with your healthcare provider, particularly if you're doing this in long term, right? Like some people have chronic back pain and they go out and they do ibuprofen, right? That can become an issue, right? So check with your healthcare provider, let them know what you're doing, and they can help guide you. But also look at the package. Look at the package. How many times did I say that? One more time. Okay, well, look at the package. Number 5, maintain a healthy weight. Once again, another one of those things that keeps coming up, maintain a healthy weight, because having a healthy weight decreases first of all, let's talk about pre-diabetes, right? Decreases the progression to diabetes, decreases metabolic syndrome, decreases high cholesterol, decreases hypertension, right? So all of those things are better when we maintain good weight. And if we can do that, then that knocks out, see those number 2, number 3, right? All those are better if we help maintain a good weight. And then finally, number 6, quit smoking. Quit smoking. Quit smoking, right? So another one of those. If you quit smoking, then things get better, right? Now, for you guys and gals who are out there who are smokers, I'm not saying this flippantly. I'm not saying that it's not going to be something that you're going to have to work at. That's not what my intention. But quit smoking so much improves everything. And so find someone who's going to help you do that, right? So don't think that you've got to do this by yourself. There are lots of ways that we have to help people quit smoking. Take charge of your health, right? That's one of the things that we talk about when we start the show. You can do this. We can do this together. So How do we reduce the risk of developing diabetic nephropathy? 1, keep regular doctor visits. 2, keep sugars in the target range. 3, manage high blood pressure and high cholesterol. 4, follow the instructions on the packaging for possible harmful over-the-counter medications. 5, maintain a healthy weight. And 6, quit smoking. Ooh. Right? So that's it. Those are the things that we want to do. And this is, we've been talking about diabetic nephropathy during this episode. Your kidneys are an amazing organ that performs a vital function in your body. Every day, they filter around 120 to 150 liters of blood to remove waste products and excess fluid. If you are diabetic, or you know someone that's diabetic, be sure that things are being done to minimize the damage that can be caused to your kidneys and ultimately to your body. Remember, our goal is to help you live a long, healthy life. That's what I do here on the channel. So happy that you are here. So happy that you took the time to spend with us. If you're getting some benefit, please give us a thumbs up. Right? Give us a thumbs up. If you're here right now, if you're watching, give us a thumbs up right now. Share this video and subscribe to the channel. I am talking to you now in this series in the middle of Diabetes Awareness Month. This is November. Watch all the videos. If you've not done so yet, go back and watch those that we've done so far. Watch this one in the series. There is a playlist that's called Diabetes 101, I think is what I called it. Diabetes 101, and all of the videos are going to be in that playlist. If you're watching this on the replay, go ahead and put hashtag replay, right, so that we know that you're here. If you've got questions, put them in the chat. Send them to us on our email. That's dwood@dwaynewoodmd.com. dwood@dwaynewoodmd.com. I'm going to need to add that to our lower third there so that that's on the screen. You can find us on all of our social media platforms at DwayneWoodMD. So LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of those are there. If you have not subscribed, let's talk a little bit about this. I would love for you to do that because it helps our channel grow. It helps the algorithm. It helps YouTube. It helps everybody out there know that we're providing valuable information. If you're not subscribing, right, and if a channel isn't growing, then they're out there and like, well, is anybody watching this? And I know you're watching, okay, because I hear you talk. You tell me you're watching, but I want you to subscribe. You need to create a free YouTube account. You have to have an account to subscribe. Go ahead, create an account. It is free. Once you get into the account and you log in, hit the subscribe button, and then also hit the little bell that tells the system to notify you when we're doing new videos, when we're doing lives, when we put new things up. Okay. If you know someone who's having trouble subscribing, please help them. Right? Because I know there are people out there who watch, but they may not be as savvy as you are with the technology. Go ahead and help them, and then share it. Share it on your social media platform. Share it in your email list. Share it with your contacts, and let them know what I'm doing as I try to grow the channel. Love the fact that you are here. Please come back. That's the next thing. Come back and watch the videos and spend time with me as I walk through Diabetes 101. All right. This is Dr. Dwayne Wood. That's Wood with an E. On this channel, I help to educate, I help to empower, and I help to encourage you to take charge of your life and your health. Avoid complications and live the life you've always wanted, going to the next level. Thanks for being here. We'll see you at the next video. Good night.